amazing performance in this film. It had me captivated from the beginning to the end. So
Thank you
first and
so
foremost,
much.
oh, of course, of course.
Thank you.
First of all, can you tell me a little bit about Skye and how she finds herself traveling with the Kaminsky brothers?
So Skye enters Stanley and Lion's life because they have a job to do. This is so hard to describe without like giving the movie away, because they have a job to do. But what they don't understand is that she also has her a whole set of her own agendas and things that she needs to get from this trip and from this experience in her life at this moment in time. And she enters their life and proceeds to do everything to get exactly what she wants from this experience. Everybody has their own thing that they're trying to get from this moment in their lives, and Skye has many that she's trying to get.
Now, Jungleland has two live stories at its core: the familial love between the brothers, and the story of love between your character Skye and Lion.
Yeah.
Uh, what about each of these studies of love make Jungleland unique?
I mean, the biggest reason that I wanted to make this movie was, the love between Stanley and Lion. I don't think it's something that we see a lot. I have brothers myself, and I really believed this was a movie that they should watch. I think it really explores a lot about masculinity that we're
Right.
not really doing at the moment. And there's a lot of emphasis on women's experience of masculinity, which is great and correct. And I do those movies as well. But I felt really believe that it's equally as important to show the flip side of it and to show, to me, Skye is a completely unsympathetic character for a lot of it in these two guys' lives. And I wanted to play this character that really is trying to manipulate both these guys. And is her love real for Lion? Is Stanley's love real for Lion? And because everybody can relate to that, like I don't really know if I would get in trouble for saying this, but like this is what women do. A lot of women can do this. The only way in is to push other people out. Obviously a lot of guys do that as well in relationships, but women do it as well. um I was not, I didn't feel shy about portraying that. um Men can be really hurt when it comes to women as well, and it's just like who is using who, within this trio, who has got the most to lose, who has got the most to gain,
You're
and
right.
everybody can relate to this.
You're right. Skye is one of the most every single time she's on screen, it is one of the most interesting characters because every single time you're peeling a layer of that onion back. And
Yeah.
Skye seems to be in over her head when you first meet her, and her problems only get more dramatic when you follow her along. Now, how
Yeah.
is that as an actor being able to peel those layers back?
I mean, this was a really great experience for me as an actor because I knew it from the first time that I read the script, and then when I first spoke to Max Winkler, the director, I knew that that's what it was going to be like to work on the movie, where I knew that I was going to be receiving direction where I wasn't going to be sure why I was playing that in a scene. There was going to be multiple ways of playing this character, and I was going to have to trust what the director was telling me to do for what he needed in post production, putting the movie together. So it was a really great exercise in, of course, me doing what I usually do and making a character and getting that set and knowing what I want to get from this character and what I want people to see. But it was a really great exercise in completely letting go and being, the director giving you a note and you being like, I don't really think that makes any sense. Playing it and being like, oh my God, the scene felt like so great. Sorry. I do all my interviews outside because if not, like I'm just inside all the time. Um, so it was so, really rewarding doing my job and in terms of learning things. And also having the experience of watching yourself in a movie at the end and being like, whoa, like I had no idea that it was one of those movies where you watch it and you're like, whoa, I had no idea that this was what this was going to come across like, which I love. You know,
Right.
there are movies where you should know exactly what it's going to be like, and you are more in control of it. And then there are movies like this where you should watch it and be like, whoa, I had no idea that I was going to be like this in this movie.
Now, when you read the script, because you talked about being like this movie really is for everybody. It definitely has something to relate to. But when you read the script, was there any scene that stood out for you that you were like, this scene I connect with immediately?
Oh yeah, the scene where she goes home to her family,
Yep.
and you actually realize that this person has no idea what they're doing. She doesn't have the tenacity that she has. She is absolutely making it up as she goes along. She is so afraid of being like everyone else. She's so afraid of being ordinary. She's so afraid of being somebody that, gets to 50 years old and is like, what have I actually done with my life? Like, what impact have I really made on the world? And sure, she loses her way with that. Definitely, that's what you see in this movie. She's really lost her way, and she's somebody that was really trying to just do something inspiring with her life. And so far, life has really chewed her up.
Right.
I mean, that's not how I feel, but the feeling of being like, oh my God, I don't want to be somebody that is like middle aged one day and is like, whoa, what have I done? What am I really, what impact am I having on the world? That was what I related to in that scene.
Now, the love story hinges on the chemistry between Skye and Jack O'Connell's character, Lion. In what ways do you think people are going to be able to relate to their romance?
Your family, like the pull of your family involved in things, like so much, like how much like your own personal dreams can get in the way of a relationship. And it's so much more complicated than just having a connection with somebody. You have to be in the right place in life. You have to be in the same place in life. And I don't know, a lot of movies are responsible for like this whole idea that we have where like you just meet somebody and you fall in love with them and like nothing else really matters. And I think what this movie shows is that like that doesn't really, it's such an anti-love story. It's not about that. Like people are so much more complicated, and these are two characters that have already lost so much in their life and are so much older than they really are because of what life has done to them, and they still have even more to lose. And you would think that having a genuine connection with somebody would make all of that, would salvage something, but their lives are chaotic and messy, and these are people that are really grifting in life and are just trying to get through every single day. And for people like that, falling in love with somebody is not easy because you're just trying to survive.
Now, Jungleland is a blend of high drama and intense physicality. How intense was it to participate or even witness both of those extremes?
The boxing was crazy to watch. I actually do boxing now. I have a boxing teacher and I do boxing with him 3 times a week. Um, and when I was doing this movie, it wasn't obviously important for my character to really have an opinion on boxing.
Right.
If anything, there is a scene where it shows, like how kind of frightening it can be. And that was my opinion of it when I was making this movie. Um, we used to watch boxing matches on a weekend, and like obviously my brothers would sometimes watch it, and I was like, oh my God, this is like so stressful. Like they're just beating each other up. People do this in real life. Like, why would you want to like pay people to do it? But when I was watching Jack, I was like, whoa, this is like so, it's physical, but it's also extremely mental. Yeah, sure, like you can punch somebody really hard, but it's way more about resilience and what you can survive mentally. And I was really taken back by the mental strength that you have to do it. And actually the vulnerability that you have to be able to do it because, actually the most times when people will win a boxing match is the more when they're physically losing, the other person is being tired out, and then all you need is like one punch. You just have to be able to survive all these blows, um and then just find the moment when the person is tired and come back. I mean, that's such a metaphor for the types of people that are in this movie. You just have to survive the little digs and then just come back with like something big. um but I loved watching it. It really changed my opinion of boxing to the point where like I now actually do it. Obviously, I'm not going to be like a professional boxer. It doesn't really go hand in hand with being an actress, but I love the experience of learning it.
That's something I really enjoyed about this film. It's the boxing isn't in this film just to be in it. There's actually a
Yeah.
purpose for it. And in many ways, the fighting in the film is kind of like a metaphor for survival and kind of like seen as an escape. Can you explain to me how the fighting in the film transcends simple action scenes? Because it's not just there just to have action scenes. Every single fight means something for in this film. So can you talk to me about how those fighting scenes kind of transcend just simple action scenes?
I mean, through the, the boxing matches is really where you get to the heart of the how intricate this relationship is with these two brothers. Max always described it to me and Jack and Charlie as, Stanley is like a stage mother with Lion, his brother, but really as his child who he believes in so much. And you can really see this relationship where in the scenes with the fights, where you're like, is this guy the older brother, or is he the parent, or is he the manager? And how they have this thing which is supposedly going to be their American dream and is going to change their lives, but it's also destroying their relationship as well, because who is using who, who is really going to get the most out of this thing in their lives, this job that they both share together, and like, is it really at the expense of their relationship? You see Lion at many points in the movie express how he doesn't feel connected to being a boxer, but he's so good at it. The boxing in this movie is everything. It's so much more than just like that. It's not really a boxing movie. The
Right.
boxing is, like, as you said, like 100% a metaphor for so many things in the movie. And just like the whole thing about how, for the men in this class, like working class men, this is something that is like universal. It's not just an American thing. That whole thing of like, oh, well, like you're 18 now, and like your dad is like, okay, let's go outside and fight, like that's a real thing. I don't know why that's never been in a movie. Just like where the dad is like, okay, well, let's go out and fight. Like, it's your birthday. Like, let's see if you can really do it. Fighting is obviously such like, uh, it's such a big thing for men in these parts of the world. And my experience of them is that they're actually really vulnerable, and it's so fast, the contrast, the contradictions between the fighting side of them and the really vulnerable side of them is so fascinating.
Now, last question I have for you. I want to talk about your director, Max Winkler, mainly because I don't want that to go overlooked. Because he also co-wrote this film, and he was obviously your director. He did an amazing job, and you can tell he really cared about all the characters. But can you talk to me about the collaboration process with Max and how being a writer may have helped inform your character?
I mean, first of all, you know I auditioned for Max for Flower years ago. And from speaking to him then, and then speaking to him again about Jungleland and working with him, the thing to me that stands out, like the thing that he brings to a project as a director is like, this guy is like truly interested in people and has so much compassion for people, for the characters that he's written or the characters that he's directing, for the actors that he's working with, for the real people that are in the areas that the real people that he's representing. Like, he his his ability to try and relate to things, and the care that he takes with the people, everything is just about the people and making sure that it's authentic, and that he's always taking care of the characters, is really a rare thing to experience from a director. Nobody else really stands out as having that same thing. Truly is fascinated just in people and representing pieces of life that he doesn't personally have any experience of, but just learning about people. And, that's what he really brought to this movie. This is a group of people that on paper, why would you ever have sympathy for any of them?
Right, right.
Like, they're not characters usually where you're trying to see the good in them. So much easier to just like paint the worst of these types of people. And what he brought to the movie was like, no, like, we actually have to care about this. He cares about the underdogs, and that is always going to make a fantastic movie.
Well, look, Jessica, you did a phenomenal job in this film, as did everybody associated with it. So thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it. Thanks,
Thank
Jessica.
you.
Take
Thanks.
care.
Bye. Have a good day.
You too.